Good evening, YouTube viewers and subscribers. What I've got in front of me today is an engine I got from a very good friend, someone I've done a lot of business with in the past. This is a Saito FA-82 engine. I don't recall how this came to be. Maybe we were texting back and forth and I mentioned, I've never seen or had an 82 before, I'd like to have one. Well, he just so happened to have two of them and he sent one to me for evaluation. So I was taking a look at this engine, and I had just recently picked up a 72. Now, back, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years ago, or when I started in the hobby, I was always into Saito engines, and I loved what I called the classic series Saitos. That was the 45, 50, 56, 65, 80, and 91S. Well, then I had a hiatus from the hobby for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years or so, and in that time is when the 72, the 62, 72, and 82 came out. So I had never had experience with those engines. So the 72 was an engine I just purchased last week or so, and I've done a run video of it. It's an awesome engine. I was thinking about doing a teardown of it, but it turns out this thing really doesn't need it. So I was like, well, I'm kind of curious about, an 82. So this friend of mine says, well, I've got one, let me send it to you. You can check it out, do some videos on it. If you really want it, we can come up with a trade, or you can buy it from me or whatever. So I opened this engine up, and I knew basically that the 72 and 82, were basically the same. And boy, was I not surprised that they are damn near the same. I mean, if you look at them here, the lower crankcase is identical. The exact same size. Apparently this is just even a more bored out version than the 72, and I guess the 62, I'm not sure, I've never seen a 62. Maybe the 62 is the same also, and it's just got a smaller cylinder and piston. I'm not sure, but these two I have in my hands here, and I'm telling you, if you didn't see this on here, you'd think they were identical. Now obviously the 72 always was the first one and only one, I think, maybe 62 also, that had this composite backplate. But I mean, if you didn't see that, and you didn't see these, designations on the side, you would think that these engines were absolutely identical. I mean, because they are. The casing's the same, the lower casing's the same, the carbs are the same, the head, I mean, everything. It's not different at all. So I'm wondering to myself, now I've got this 82, and sure, I'm going to do some runs on it, and do some static thrust tests, but it's the question I have now is, do I even really want to keep the thing? I mean, it's physically identical to the 72. Now, I do happen to have my old school 80 here. Now, the 80 obviously is an older design. It's a much different engine, in that I think the lower crankcase of the 72 and 82 are probably closer to the same size as a 56, and this is the mid-size crankcase that the 65 use, the 80 and the 91S all use this same lower crankcase. So this obviously is a heavier engine, in my opinion, a more classic design. This is, latest, Saito's latest, or well, it's not late now, it's been out for many years, but these 72s, the 2 versions, were just Saito's somewhat feeble attempt, in my opinion, just to, pack as much power into as small of a crankcase and as light a weight platform as you could, just for sheer power output. Lightweight, high power. Well, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with that, because I don't agree with overpowering engines anyway, and I think that the market now is such that you'll see these things, and obviously I don't even think the 72 is produced anymore. It might still be. I don't think the 62 is. I think the 82B is, and this is an 82A. And what were the differences in the 82A and B? Well, I can't recall right now. The 82A has a flatter, I think it's got a different lower crankcase, and the timing case is much different. It's got that flat style timing case, so I don't know if that means it's got shorter push rods or what. I don't have an 82B. available. But I'm looking at these things and, you know, I couldn't tell the difference from them from 3 feet apart anyway. And sure, there could be some marked power differences, but that's something I'm going to determine, because when I do the runs with these two engines, I'm going to do some comparison runs where I'm using the same fuel, same props, and I'm going to be doing some static thrust readings. And I'm going to actually do a pretty decent side-by-side comparison of these two engines and measure their static thrust output, RPM per given prop, etc. So I can get some, you know, at least real for me, figures as to, is there really a big difference here? I've already paid for and own this 72. Honestly, after looking at this thing, I don't really know that I would ever have a need for an 82. I've got this nice 80 that I have no intention of ever parting with. And by the way, I'm probably going to put this 80 in the mix also, since it sits right in between these two. Displacement wise anyway, I don't really care about weight, because for static thrust tests on my stand, weight is irrelevant. And but anyway, so these three engines were going to be compared to each other, and hopefully it won't all be at one time or one day, but we will get some comparison figures for these three engines, and that'll help me determine if I actually want to try and make a deal to keep this 82. So anyway, that's a quick look at 3 Saito engines, and thank you for watching.